The Emerald Lands, or Rokugan in the tongue of its people, comprise a vast, majestic countryside that stretches 900 miles from the pine valleys and snow capped peaks of the Great Wall of the North Mountains at one end to the austere Carpenter Wall standing vigil along the country's desolate southern border.
Beyond the wall lies the Shadowland, a blighted land tainted by the influence of hell itself, and dangerous for even the most legendary heroes to step foot within. At its widest point, Rokugan measures 600 miles, from the Sea of the Sun Goddess in the east to the burning sands in the west. Within its borders, bountiful plains ripple gold in the sunlight, and primordial forests hide mysterious spirits and dangerous creatures.
Hot springs straddle mountain ranges and hills laden with precious gems and minerals. Countless rivers, lakes, and streams wind their way toward the ocean, where fish, seaweed, and pearls are netted by divers and fishermen. Crimson Torii mark the gateway to sacred spaces, which exist alongside the sprawling cities and huddled hamlets of human civilization.
Each of the seven great clans presides over a different corner of the empire, protecting the natural harmony of the land and the kami that dwell there. Shrines and temples dot the landscape, marking places of spiritual power and contemplation. Fortifications, large and small, protect the roads, bridges, mountain passes, and the domains of great lords.
In the shadows of these castles, towns and villages prosper from the efforts of craftspeople and artisans. Beyond the city limits, peasants toil over rice paddies and fields of grain, or hunt and gather the bounty of the forest. To travel the empire on its few roads, samurai must obtain special papers and pay a tax towards their upkeep.
Merchants' carts and horses are banned from the imperial highways altogether, forcing them to rely on special trade routes to carry goods between cities. Given the size of the empire and the difficulty of journeying, few get to witness the variety of the empire's vistas in one lifetime. Instead, citizens are deeply in tune with the natural cycles of the provinces they call home. The heavens bring four seasons to the empire, which are celebrated by festivals and arts. In the spring, the delicate fragrance of cherry blossoms wafts from misty gardens. Summer heralds rains and oppressive heat, slowly giving way to autumn's brilliant scarlet leaves, shrill cicada cries, and typhoons. Winter buries the lands in deep snow, closing mountain passes and driving the citizenry to the warmth and comfort of the hearth. The Code of Bushido, literally the way of the warrior. Bushido is the code by which all samurai in Rokugan strive to live, yet each clan's interpretation of the tenets of Bushido is slightly different. All samurai are taught to embrace the ideals of Bushido and strive ever towards them, at the expense of personal gain. Not even the gods uphold Bushido without flaw. The strictures are nearly impossible to maintain in their entirety, and the struggle to adhere to them consumes a samurai's existence. The virtues recognized by the code are compassion, courage, courtesy, duty, honor, righteousness, and sincerity. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Legend of Five Rings on Friday nights, episode 2. No, Reverend Samurai do not pick their nose. That's it's a childish thing to do. Yes, they have duty, spelled with a U. My name is Hal. I am the game master for our campaign. This is a kind of an off week for us. We are going to be doing our live play on a bi-weekly basis because we couldn't get the whole cast every Friday. So what we're going to do on the in-between weeks is talk about the game, the setting, maybe even do some side quests that individual characters were off on, so we don't have to devote time during the prime time to take care of that. And hopefully even do some direct back and forth with people in the chat. It'd be an opportunity to take questions and answers directly from people when we don't really have the attention span to be able to doing that while we're doing our live play. I will kick us off with thanking Rem Alternus for giving us our platform here to play on and to bring you content. I've been playing Legend of Five Rings for a long time. I think pretty much ever since it started. I got involved in the CCG back in '95 during the Imperial era. So it's been a long passion of mine. We only have a part of our cast here today, so Chris, why don't you tell us who you are, since we missed you last week due to real world problems with the end of the world going on and everything. But glad to see that you're okay and that you made it home.
Yes, I am back home, safe and sound. Pretty happy about it. Hi there, I am Chris. I have been part of Rem Alternus for the past few months. I've been playing tabletop games for the past 10 years. You might know me as playing the fun and sexy Phelan on the D&D 5e episodicals Lost Minds of Fandelver. Check that out on Saturday mornings. But I'm very excited to play Legend of the Fire Rings. I am completely new to it. So I've been getting tidbits here and there, slowly learning the system, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I love samurai, so this game I've been told would be pretty good for me.
Yep, this is a scratch that's hard to itch with D&D. So, Pat, why don't you round us out with who we are able to have this week?
All right, well, I'm Patrick Bryant. I've been playing L5R a little bit, nowhere near as long as Hal. I got exposed to the TCG right around the end of it when AAG sold the rights to FFG. I never actually had a chance to play it very much. That's the reason I say exposed. Basically, bought decks, tried to learn the rules, but never really got into the community very much at all. Went to the inaugural event for the release of Legend of the Five Rings LCG at that Gen Con. That was a really nice event. Had my first taste of being able to play in like kind of a limited tournament capacity, but for whatever reasons, generally just time and money, I've kind of fallen off the ability to really follow up and do anything with the LCG. I've played, this will be my third Legend of the Five Rings RPG game. The first two being older editions under the AEG banner. I don't remember exactly what editions, and I'm not entirely certain whether or not they were on the same edition. They were fun games. I played a crane duelist in one game, and I played a scorpion Shugenja in another game. So that the character I'm playing now is kind of a mix of all the concepts that I've had previously, and had a little bit more time to try to like mature and build kind of a bit more of a footing and something that fits with the setting a little bit better. Even with that said, though, I'm still kind of skirting some of the norms with the character that I have here.
Well, that's the whole point of a role-playing game. Who wants to play a stock character? You want to put some twists into them.
Very much agreed.
Okay, well, once again, we're gonna just talk about the game, the setting, maybe engage in some Q&A with the chat if they throw us any questions they have. And what I'd like to do is kind of tell the audience how character generation works in this game, because it's got kind of a neat mechanic where there's a process of asking 20 questions about your character, and then as you answer those questions, you resolve those answers, give you game stats, and by the time you're done, your character is ready to play.
Chris, from the perspective of someone that's absolutely new to the game, did they go through the 20 questions with you, or was it a little bit of a different experience when it was putting your character together?
So my character isn't completely put together yet, but Hal and I recently started going through the 20 questions, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think it's a really neat way to put together a character. It's it streamlines a a lot of things. Because when I first looked at the character sheet, I was like, felt really intimidated. But now that like we've been plugging, it's like building a Lego set with like 1,000 pieces. You're like, how the hell am I supposed to build it and make it look like it's on the box? But as soon as we start putting it together, it just shapes up real nicely.
Yeah, and in Chris's case, he's playing a Ronin, which the game supports, but they really don't assume you're going to be a Ronin. So we're lucky in that there's been an expansion book that came out very recently. The Path of Waves, I believe it's called. It's a expansion book just for Ronin stuff. So they altered the questions in the 20 questions to better suit a Ronin story. For example, the very first question in the 20 questions is, what clan are you from? And if you know anything about a Ronin who has no lord and therefore no clan, it's a hard question to answer. So they change it up and they make it more Ronin friendly. So if you want to play a Ronin in this game, they do have the expansion book better addresses playing and making Ronin characters.
And for the sake of chat, Path of Waves being a reference to a term for Ronin called a waveman.
Yeah.
So if you ever see anything in the LF5R like literature or the cards or anything referring to a waveman, that's what it's referring to. It's referring to a Ronin.
I'll bet Chris knew that, even not knowing L5R stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I am Chris. I am playing a professional waveman. That's what I'm gonna start calling myself outside of game as well.
Okay.
Now I can imagine one of those wacky inflatable tube things.
So much like the rules itself, it's kind of a simple process in concept, but there's a lot of nuance in answering the 20 questions. Like, the first couple are picking your clan and your family, and whatever you pick, that gives you some game stats. Most of you are playing clan samurai, so you have an allegiance and you're part of a noble house, one or the other. Chris, actually, why don't you tell us about your character concept that you made, and people can kind of see how we made your character, because then we applied the 20 questions after you had your concept in mind.
So, Kage here. I'll just go and say everything I've come up with for him. Kage, born Tetsuo. Kage is his Ronin name. Tetsuo was one of the 4 samurai who were in charge of keeping the peace and protecting the Rooster Clan's palace on Shonen no Shimo, which translates to Merchant's Isle in Japanese. Shonen no Shima, which is a river town that borders on the Crane and Phoenix territories. So they were allied with both clans. To cross the river, you had to pay a toll, helped keep upkeep of the whole island and everything. It was a good system, and Crab Clan didn't think it was a good system, and they wanted it for themselves. They didn't want to pay any stinking tolls, so they bribed 3 of the 4 samurai of the Rooster Clan, and one day when there was an attack, a coup was staged, and the 3 other samurai attacked Tetsuo, literally disarmed him by cutting off his left hand and left him for dead. And as we said before we started recording, they had their hearty villain laugh and said, he'll never grow up to come and get vengeance on us, and they left him for dead. So we all know how that goes.
Yep. Protagonist can survive that.
Yeah. So I think Hal and I decided it was a good chunk of time later, like 10 or so years maybe.
However long you want it to be.
500 years. No, but Kage, he goes by the name Kage now as his Ronin name. He was thought to be dead, so he has a fake alias, and he's just done Ronin work, trying to build up his strength, trying to find a place for himself in the world. But ultimately, his goal is he wants to get justice for the Rooster Clan and take back Shonen Noshima for the Rooster Clan. But one of the goals for that is he wants revenge against the 3 that staged the coup and to kill them. So his secret goal is he is trying to hunt down the 3 that betrayed him and the clan.
Yeah, and those who are really familiar with L5R would probably know that there's no such thing as a Rooster Clan, and that's fine. Who cares? This is our game. We can add or remove or do whatever we want, and a minor clan is an easy thing to add in Rokugan. So, especially one that's already been destroyed again. So it's a really easy add.
It's so easy to give and
It's almost
take.
like nothing changes in the big picture.
When it really comes down to it, does the Empire as a whole really care or notice the minor clans? I mean, really think about it.
It's sometimes, but if a minor clan gets in the way of a great clan and the great clan squishes them like a zit, then oh well, it's fait accompli. It's already done.
Don't the minor clans have some protection in like the court system for being able for those kind of situations? But
They theoretically yes, but if you're squished before you can even get on the docket, then
you have to get noticed to get
yes.
protected.
The Crab Clan made quick work by, instead of raiding the town, they just paid off half the people to betray.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, and it's really hard to defend a minor clan that betrayed their own, right? So that's more or less a sabotage from within kind of strategy that kind
Yeah.
of
So some of
outstrips
the
that protection.
some of
they
the
were
other
smart
minor
about it.
Yeah, some of the other minor clans that exist and persist, most notably would be the Mantis clan, which in the old timeline was able to progress and become a great clan. But the Mantis clan live in a geographically removed area, on islands off the coast, and they have one of the best navies in Rokugan. So that makes it difficult for the great clans to just go squish them, even
And
even when they want to, because they act like pirates a lot of the time.
in the FFG canon, they are currently supplying weapons to the crab, in trade, essentially to get the crab's backing for their intended claim to try to go down that major clan route again. They're
Yeah,
basically they're doing their political posturing to try to get legitimacy to that request.
yeah, and that's ultimately really a minor clan's biggest protection is the patronage and protection of another great clan. An example of that would be the Dragonfly clan, which has the patrons in the Dragon clan who like to remain up in the mountains and not interact with anybody else. So it suits them to have a minor clan that lives down in the foothills. And if you ever want to deal with the Dragon clan in a political way, you have to get through their little minions in the Dragonfly clan first. So that's an example of a minor clan that's been able to succeed and stick around as well.
Mhm.
Uh,
And then you have the Sparrow for the Crane clan. I
yeah,
believe.
there are many minor clans, and the FFG canon introduced the Cat clan, which I loved, and I've already kind of put them into our campaign already. The Cat clan are ostensibly acrobats and circus performers, but in reality, they're a bunch of ninjas. So that's pretty cool and fun.
Well, there's no ninjas in reality. No, that shinobi.
Yes.
They draw a line with one of those words, I believe.
Yeah, because who would have thought that acrobats are good at ninja stuff? I mean, not me. That's nobody ever saw that coming.
And every clan has a sneakier side of their coin. So every clan has their ninjas. It's not just like this clan is the ninja clan or something like that. Every clan
Yeah.
has a whole canopy of flavors to it, and each one of them has essentially every job that they need covered. They just kind of do it in different ways, and literally every clan has a need for that kind of subvertive type strategy, but they might go about it different ways.
Well, you're our resident crane player. Why don't you tell us about the Daidoji? You're not playing one, but this is kind of right up your alley, what you're talking about.
Well, see, here's part of the issue with calling me the crane player. I know more about the scorpion than I do about the crane.
Oh,
So thus the reason I'm kind of like crossing those lines and everything. The biggest reason I wanted to basically play within the lines of the crane was that like focus on what is proper, right? Trying to really kind of dive into certain elements of conflict within the character and a little bit more legitimacy, at least in my eyes, in how the scorpion viewed the world in a much more pragmatic, much more realistic way, to whereas the crane are going to be one of the clans that's going to be most, no, we have to abide by these tenets, we have to do these things a certain way, even if that's kind of against actual like true justice or actual reality in a case, to where it's like the whole idea that I could come up to someone, and this is hyperbole, right? I can come up to someone and say, the sky is red. And they say, no, it's blue. Well, let's duel over it. And I win the duel, and it's now red. It's a bit of hyperbole, but that's kind of the way things work in Rokugan. When the physical evidence really means nothing. It's about status, and it's about
yeah.
what the important individuals are saying is true, and the appropriate thing to do when you're referring to someone with a higher status, the honorable thing to do, is to not call them out when they make a mistake.
Yeah, trial by combat is not unique to this setting by any means.
But when it comes to the Daidoji, I mean, if you give me about 5 minutes, I can at least like Google some stuff up if you want to at least talk a few things about them. But right off the top of my head, I don't know a whole lot about the Daidoji.
All right. Well, I think since we brought him up, we do have to say one thing. Daidoji Uji is the coolest looking samurai in Rokugan. I never was a crane player. I don't have a lot of affection for the crane, but props to Daidoji Uji. He is the coolest looking samurai. So go ahead and Google him.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Let me fact check this real quick.
All right.
So he can cover the dude you brought up. I just brought up the little fandom wiki for Daidoji as a family. They're the support troops of the crane. They train Yojimbo, which are bodyguards, Bushi, which would then protect. In this case, they say crane dignitaries, so they're courtier, possibly even their shugenja. They're harriers, where
That's a nice thing you can call them instead of calling them ninjas.
Oh yeah, in like the crab ones, they call them, they're scouts, they're Haruma scouts, right? They're not ninjas, they're just scouts.
Mm-hmm.
But so the Daidoji family are the harriers, and their harriers they're the elite forces that most samurai, even within the crane, do not even know exist. So if you're a Daidoji harrier, chances are that even your own cousins don't really know that's a thing. It's you have a purpose, you have a thing that you're doing.
All right, so yeah, I was just looking at Daidoji Uji pictures. He's basically he's a way cooler version of the Shredder from TNMT.
Oh, crazy!
You want me to read about the man himself?
Sure, tell us about Daidoji Uji.
So, confirmed. He looks like a badass. You could take my word for it, as I am the
You're an artist.
authority on that. Yeah. Daidoji Uji was an only child born to the Daidoji Daimyo.
Yep.
To the Daidoji Daimyo. He was trained in the Daidoji school and was one of the most exemplary students. A grim and solitary man, his thankless duties became his entire life. Uji embodied all the Daidoji ideals: resourceful, ruthless, talented, and I can't speak today, unswerving loyalty to his lord, Doji Hattori. He was even vigilant in peace times, keeping a keen eye on all threats to his clan. Wow.
Yeah. So in the new timeline, of course, what you're reading is a reference to the old AEG canon.
Yep.
Of course, his lord now is Doji Hotaru, who got a gender swap for the reboot. But yes, Daidoji Uji does. He has been. I'm pretty sure he has a card in the new canon, and here we go. I found it. Yeah, his artwork has been even improved. He looks even more badass. So
Put a link in chat if you can.
I closed it anyway. Yeah. So yeah, we're going way down into the weeds, but he had a really cool alternate timeline in the AEG days. There was an alternate timeline called 1,000 Years of Darkness, which basically this is like a mirror universe where evil won, and the Shadowlands have overrun the Rokugan, and yeah, it's hell on earth. And Daidoji Uji was a character. There was a card for him in the 1,000 Years of Darkness promo set, and in various tournaments, something cool happened with him. And what he was doing in the 1,000 Years of Darkness alternate timeline, he was basically waging a guerrilla war against the evil god who took over Rokugan. And thanks to some cool tournament outcomes and story prizes, the 1,000 Years of Darkness Daidoji Uji came over into the Prime timeline, and after he died in the Prime timeline, so he got resurrected in a way. So things like that happen in the old CCG.
Oh wow, his LCG ability is actually really good. Or at least,
He's-
now bear in mind, I know very little about the meta. I am not like a tournament player or anything, but just reading the ability makes me feel like he's a very useful character. He's a high costed character, which would make sense because he's the daimyo of the Daidoji,
Yeah.
right? So he's going to be a powerful character. But yeah, also the art for the LCG, he looks like a cross of Silver Samurai and Shredder. It's a really
Yeah.
cool setup.
Yeah, that helmet has been his signature thing ever since the start. Yeah.
We were told to say Daidoji Uji 3 times fast.
I could say it. Daidoji Uji, Daidoji Uji, Daidoji Uji.
Oh, there we
Wow.
Boom.
There you go.
I would have managed to do that.
Me neither.
I would have definitely tripped.
I stuttered too much.
So anyway, let's kind of bring this back to what we were getting at. Is all the clans have ninjas, so they just don't call them ninjas. So going back to the 20 questions, you do things like picking your clan and your family. You pick a school, which if you've played any of the old editions before, this is all the same stuff you did in every edition. Moving on,
The school would be the closest analog to like a character class in
for D&D. Yeah. This edition is different from older editions in that you select things called Giri and Ninjo. Giri is your duty, Ninjo is your desire, I believe. And
what you do versus what you want to do.
Yep. And these are things that you always had in the older editions. This one, they just make it a step where you just go ahead and define it for yourself. So as for example, Pat, what are the duty and desire that you selected for your character?
Well, so for the Giri for my duty, it's a little bit different than if we were just playing a non-streamed game, because essentially my duty is going to be to do whatever mission is out before us, which right now is to protect Biden Pass. So that's my duty. My duty will shift with whatever the campaign basically directs. Now, as far as my desire, My character also has a little bit of a revenge story, a little bit similar to Kage there, whereas let's see if I can actually find what I wrote down.
Also be back in one hot second here.
And part of the point of doing this exercise is to drum up some drama. Like we have neither Zafira nor James is here today, but they're playing Lion and Scorpion characters respectively, and they have duties that are not necessarily complementary. One is supposed to make sure the other clan doesn't gain undue influence, and the other one wants to make sure their clan isn't embarrassed by anything that's discovered in the course of any investigations in the past. And so that doesn't mean that they're going to be bad teammates, but they do have motivations that can cause drama.
Which question is the Gira and is the what we're covering?
Yeah. And we see a question in Clat. Yes, there is not a lobster clan in canon. However, we do have the arachnid themed clans in the scorpion and crab. So there's certainly no reason there couldn't be a lobster minor clan.
The Carapace Bros.
Yes.
But to go back to
there is a centipede minor clan, so sure, that's even another Carapace bro.
Forgot about that. But to go back to what I was saying, like, so what my character actually desires the downfall of his lord for very personal reasons, which is very counter to what a samurai should do.
Mm-hmm. So I see Breaking Heart 101. Welcome. I don't know if you were here with us last week. We started our actual play. We didn't get our full cast to rejoin us this week, so we're just talking rules and talking Rokugan in general, and engaging with you guys in chat as well. Thanks for joining us. We enjoy lurkers. We enjoy talking with you even more. And we can't talk to Chris about his characters, Ninjo and Geary, so we'll just move along. Various things you do is define how your character stands out from other characters of the same clan, family, and school, and those give you more abilities. And ultimately, you come to the 20th question, which is my favorite. And this kind of like blew my mind when I first saw it in older editions when they would ask this question. It's a real. The question is, how should your character die? And that was really cool to me because you never think about how your character's story is supposed to end. At least I never did. They would play in D&D or BattleTech or Shadowrun, but that's something to think about, especially in a samurai drama. A good death is really what samurai in character seek, and thinking about, there was that scene in Game of Thrones where you asked Tyrion Lannister, "How do you expect to die?" And there's various ways to answer that, and that doesn't mean that's how your character is going to die, but that's, as a player, that'll certainly help you get into the skin of your character. So we still don't have Chris. So Pat, what was your answer for that question?
I legitimately had a little bit of a cop out with that one because I didn't really want my character's story to be too much like a tragedy type thing because I'm going to be directly opposing the Lord who's basically having me do stuff. So the thought process I had in there was I am a crane samurai, but I went to a scorpion school. And so because of events that happened shortly before Megempuku, my trust in Bushido and especially honor is shooken, and where I legitimately as an individual sympathize a little bit more with the scorpion view of the world than I do a crane view of the world. So the to make a really long explanation of how I'm going to die just a little bit longer, my death per se is going to be more of a fading away. Basically, get revenge on my lord. Myself as a doji will no longer be, and then I will essentially be absorbed into the Scorpion clan.
Okay. And that's, of course, nobody ever picks, I'm going to be gored to death by a boar. I mean, that could still happen to somebody. But Chris, what you missed was we're talking about what I thought was the coolest aspect of character creation, the 20th of the 20 questions. This is something I never used to think about before encountering it in L5R, is how do you expect your character to die? How does his story end?
Huh.
And we
That
haven't gotten to that
is-
yet on your character, so let's put you on the spot and have you think about it.
Oh man, that's a huge sucker punch right there. But actually, I think that's a brilliant question to have.
Yeah.
How should Kage die? I'm gonna say right now, the methods that Kage uses as a Ronin aren't very honorable. He's willing to be dishonorable to accomplish his goals. So I think he should die from his own hubris of being dishonorable.
Yeah.
I think he should die by the end of his quest. Like, it's not something that he should be able to walk free from. Either by someone else's hand or his own.
Yeah, and this is a setting where reincarnation is a demonstrable fact. It happens. It's real. So the death is not the end of a soul in Rokugan. So death is not necessarily a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if you die poorly. So that's and that could even be your character's fate, is a dishonorable death. Drunk in his own, drown on his own vomit in a geisha house. Who knows?
Yeah, you're going to go up or down in the celestial order in your new cycle. That's what you're going for.
Yeah.
Every peasant will live their life trying to do the best they can to serve the empires. Hopefully, the next time around, they get born into the samurai caste and are that a step closer to general enlightenment and all that jazz.
All right. So we've got a question in the chat. Somebody trying to stir things up, but stirring things up is good. Unfortunately, there's only 3 of us, so we only have 3 people to give an answer. But what is the best clan? So that's going to be an interesting take, because we got one person who's been playing since forever. We got one person who's been playing since today, and we got one person in the middle. So
Rooster.
Rooster's best clan. Made up clan is best clan.
Your own made up clan.
Short-lived, but the best. They had the best dumplings, but no one could have them now because Crab Clan likes to ruin everything. So I can tell you the worst clan is.
Okay, who's the
Crab
worst clan?
Crab Clan.
And what's wrong with the Crab Clan?
They stopped Rooster Clan. I don't need any more evidence.
Well,
Rest my case.
If you start charging taxes to a Yasuki merchant, what do you think's going to happen?
They could get over it. Wham wham boo hoo.
No, they don't get over it.
You obviously don't know what is Yasuki.
No, I've been told they are like whatchamacallem, Yakuza.
Yes, this game does not have Yakuza, but the Yasuki are they fill that niche very, very accurately. They're we still have Yakuza. We just call them Yasuki. Pat, you're playing both Crane and Scorpion.
I'm a Scorpion.
Is either one of those the best clan, or are you holding out for
in my honest opinion, I think Scorpion are the best clan. They're the ones that are actually keeping the empire together. Every different clan has their strengths, has their weaknesses, but they also have a lot of petty squabbles. And if you're not in a situation to where people are given a unifying villain to fight against, you'll have a lot more infighting. So that's precisely what the Scorpion are. Is at the founding of the clan, Bayushi said, "I'll be your villain, Hante." Or if I said that right, Hante, Haite, or however the name is pronounced.
Yeah, it's
But
Hante. The only way to say it
Hante.
wrong, and I'm hesitant to even do it because now it's going to be a thing if I do. But the only way to say it wrong would be hentai. It's not that.
Oh my god.
But
It's Hante. It's totally different.
the Scorpion are the clan that will get their hands dirty to get the job done. They're not worried about being seen as the folks who are being the honorable ones. Their entire situation is having this impression of dishonor, this impression of kind of being the twirling mustache of villains, but they're really the people holding the entire empire together.
All right, and in my case, I'm going to have to give the Game Master answer and say they're all the best clan, even though. Yes, that's that. I'm not even going to even though. That's the Game Master answer.
Good rooster.
Yes, because a player made them up, so that makes the player happy. Gets the player involved. Although yes, that's totally a cop out Game Master answer. So if I were playing, so let me put on a different hat. Those who know me might know I have a big scorpion tattoo on one shoulder and I got a unicorn tattoo on the other. So it's going to be one of those two. Since you already said scorpion, I'm going to say unicorn. And of course, I have to back it up. So the unicorn clan have it all. They have military might. They have military might of the lion and the crab. They have the economic might of the crane. They have, and of course they have the forbidden knowledge gleaned from Gaijin sources from outside the empire, and so they have powerful magic that rivals even the Phoenix. So there we go. That'll be my fanboy answer for one of the
For a
two
little bit of
clans.
explanation into some of the things that really make the Unicorn Clan unique that some people may not realize is, yes, there's horses all throughout Rokugan, but most of them are what you'd refer to as more of a pony. They're not a
Yes.
very big steed. So the Unicorn came in with horses from outside of Rokugan. They have these Utaku steeds, which are just huge and powerful. And the Unicorn have the best cavalry bar none. So that gives them such a bonus, such a boon on any kind of military might that other forces, just other clans, just really can't really match up to, as much as the Lion may try. The Lion being the quintessential military clan, with the exception of more of the nuanced applications of like the Unicorn. And when they came, the knowledge they brought in from outside were also different ways to be able to use the kami. I think saying use is appropriate in this case because it's not so much the same manner of favors. They actually use like name magic or something as
Yes.
the unicorn, right? So that they're doing it a little bit different way, and this, of course, ruffles feathers. The purists, I mean, the whole idea of like Rokugan is like you do things the one way, and anything outside of that is tantamount to blasphemy, right? So the unicorn come in, and they're doing things just completely different. They eat red meat on the regular, which is something almost no other clan does, with the exception of the dragon, who occasionally will eat goat, because where they are, they're up in the mountains. They don't have access to fish as much as the other clans do. But most Rokugani samurai will never have touched red meat in their life, with the exception of unicorn and like dragon. So there's so many facets to their life that is just so different than the rest of Rokugan that they're very much the outsiders within the walls.
Yeah, they, depending on who you ask in Rokugan, the unicorn are Gaijin themselves. So at least half Gaijin.
Lots of Mongol influences with their things.
For those who know absolutely nothing about L5R, they're basically this game's version of the Mongol Empire. Okay, so I think we talked about the different who's got the best clan? I'm sure we need to ask this again. So the other players, I'm sure, are going to have different answers. I don't think anyone's going to agree with me, but we might get another thumbs up for the Scorpion clan. But we definitely need to let James have his time defending the Lion clan's honor.
Much
There's a
to
case to be made for
Chris's
them.
chagrin, I can say quite a few good things about the crab, though.
Indeed. Okay, so yeah, so the 20 questions is basically lets you walk through character generation and get a finished character, which is great if you don't know anything about the game. And if you do know the game, and if you know this as well as if you can make a character in D&D in 10 minutes, you can learn this game well enough to make a character in this game just as fast. But this helps you organize your thoughts and crank out characters.
I think the 20 questions works really well with being able to remove you from needing to know the mechanics too terrible much to
Yeah.
really kind of get where your stat points are, because with you have the different reigns, and the different reigns aren't as directly analogous to like D&D stats as you might expect, where it's not like fire equals strength or anything like that. No, it's much more nuanced to where you could do an attack action, for instance, and you could do it in a way that would accomplish through any of the reigns. So you pick the fighting style that best suits the way that your character's reigns get assigned. So you worry less about those mechanics, and you worry more about like what kind of story do I want to tell, what kind of flavor do I want to have. The Crane family combination would be about as analogous as I can think to like what race you are in D&D, whereas we were talking about schools being like what character class you are. Again, that says just as much about your character as you'd expect. Like, I'm an elf from the woods, it says about you as a D&D character, or I am a dwarf from this mountain over here. The different families and the different clans have that level of like fundamental difference, fundamental approach, even though they're all essentially humans.
So actually, why don't you, if you're in Roll20, go to your character. On your buyout info, I put some information there. So it's like, tell us, what do all Crane characters know, as like background knowledges, and how your clan views Bushido in its own unique way.
So the information I have in front of me is all Crane characters have a greater awareness of the following topics. You have a strong awareness of the politics within Crane lands. You can name major family heads and other leaders, and you know their respective positions and allegiances. You know about the general state of political affairs between the clans. You know the proper etiquette and protocol in the imperial capital. You have a working knowledge of the high arts and the great masters of old, at least among the Crane, for whom else truly warrants note. What does Bushido mean to your clan? Courtesy is of deep importance to the Crane, as your clan's political power rests upon proprietary and the idea of others respecting their proper place and their own. While many members of the Crane clan are deeply brave, courage in excess can lead to foolhardiness. Cool heads must prevail, and sometimes that means avoiding a fight altogether.
Yeah. So the Crane clan is the wealthiest and the most politically powerful, but conversely, they don't rely on the military might as much as
I will
really
correct
anyone
you on
else.
that one. In FFG, they're actually second to the Scorpion for political power with the way FFG
Well,
is their story.
yeah, that was always debatable in the other one too. But yeah, it's they see themselves as unparalleled. Let's agree
Oh
on
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's also going to be one thing. The Crane clan, if they're ever going to have a character who's kind of got that like stuck up self confidence, Crane is easily one of the ones to have when it comes to that political end of it.
Yeah.
That stuck up self confidence on the military end of it is much more of like a lion feel in my mind.
Yeah.
I like in the 20 questions when you and I were going through Mine Hell, because
Yep.
you have to replace a lot of them with their own and stuff.
Yep.
So what clan does my character belong to? We chose myself the river region, Would you mind if I went through some of the things I get for that?
Yeah, by all means, go through that.
All right, because I think this river region stuff is pretty neat. All residents of sea, river, or lake region have a greater awareness of the following topics. You have a general awareness of the politics and cities and strongholds connected by the trade routes along your river or a body of water. You can name major merchants, family heads, and significant leaders in these areas, and you know their respective positions and allegiances. You either have experience with or have heard stories of the extreme destructive power of water and the devastation wrought by storms, floods, and violent natural and unnatural phenomena that comes from living so close to the water. Conversely, you are also aware of advantages, both social and material, that come from harnessing the power of water. Your life near the waves has taught you how to prepare for floods and hurricanes, and how to travel on the water, whether by swimming, piloting a watercraft, or other means. You know stories of heroes or antagonists who either prevailed over, succumbed to, or the local waters of your region and their significance. You know those pesky river pirates.
Or River Kappa, and there's all sorts of things that can live in the water. This is a fantasy world.
Oh yeah. You are familiar with folk songs and tales passed down by in your local community, particularly those that portray the spiritual and natural hazards of the water, and can recite at least one from memory. You have exposure to cultural customs from distant regions and that trade with your people. So that would be presumably Crane and Phoenix clan for that last part there too.
Yeah, well, we talked about your clan kind of descended from the Phoenix and the Crane, but I'm putting your former lands on the Crane and the Crab board. That's why it made sense for the Crab to smash you.
Sure. For those who are having trouble following, in D&D terms, I have basically bardic knowledge of
Yep.
my area and the rivers that connect to it.
And in that same vein, I essentially have bardic knowledge of anything that's of a high-end imperial courtly type situation.
Yep.
Yes. Fine art, politics, yeah, all that stuff is
Which that's something that would be neat that our characters can connect on.
Then one of you, for contrast, look at Ikoma Saito and tell us what all lions are be counted on to know. Even though in his case he's not a warrior, he's a he's an in-game bard and secretly kind of a ninja type. But even without all that martial training, what does he know as a lion?
All right, so what we have here is all Lion Clan characters have a greater awareness of the following topics. You have a general awareness of the politics within Lion lands. You can name major family heads and other leaders, and you know their respective positions and allegiances. You know military history quite well, especially as it pertains to the glorious deeds of your forebears. You can identify and know the proper purpose of all Rokugani battlefield weapons, even if you are not personally proficient in their use. You know about the most common military maneuvers and engagements, such as feigned retreats, flank attacks, raids, and sieges. What does Bushido mean to your clan? Honor is at the center of the Lion Clan's view of Bushido, especially in context of martial virtue. Its samurai learn to be the harshest judges of themselves and their actions. For without honor, the other virtues ring hollow. This emphasis on honor colors the clan's perception of compassion, for only those who comport themselves with honor are worthy of the Lion Clan's benevolence.
Indeed, yes. So every in game terms, every clan has a extra focus on one of the tenets of Bushido, and they give diminished importance to another tenet. And for every clan, that's different. For the Ronin, of course, you're a Ronin. You pick your own way to interpret Bushido. But the Crane are about propriety, peacefulness. The Lion are the opposite. They're all about fearlessness and purity in battle. Let's see. Actually, so something we can talk about is kind of bringing Chris up to speed on what he missed since he wasn't able to join us last week. Namely, the twist that we really haven't been able to explore because we got interrupted by a hungry boar. But you were told a Yasuki merchant appeared to have had an accident in the past, and you're out there to rescue him.
Yeah, I'm
So-
pretty sure at this point, now that I know a little bit more about Chris's character, we're gonna find that Yusuke merchant with one of a rooster sword in its back.
So how would
Maybe.
Kage feel about rescuing a Yusuke merchant who's in peril?
Here's the thing: is Kage is pretty, I would say, tunnel visioned on finding those three. So I don't know if he would exactly, backstab this merchant. He has yet to meet the merchant.
Yep.
And gauge who he is as a person. And he's not a murder hobo. But he will murder. He just needs well enough reason to.
Okay.
But we shall find out. That's an interesting thing. Maybe Kage could get some answers. Maybe this merchant might just prove to be useful if they were to just have a conversation.
He might even be the guy who set it all up. Who knows?
Well, if that's the case,
This guy had an accident.
yeah, we're gonna save him near like a very tall cliffside, right?
Like the full clan samurai just sitting there when the Ronin kills a Yusuke in front of us, and we're like, "Sorry, bro, that's kind of against the law."
It's like, but they killed Rooster Clan, and everyone else is like, who?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Did you make that up? No, it's jeez.
It used to be a thing.
It was a thing. It was really cool. We had really good dumplings.
Well, nobody knows anything about that.
We had the secret to the best mochi, and now it's
Yeah.
been lost.
Yeah, so last week we spent the first hour talking about game mechanics because they're really unique to the game, and then we spent an hour role playing the exploration and investigation, and you found the cart, and when you went down to investigate, it turned out the spilled food had drawn a hungry boar, which turned out to be very powerful and dangerous because anybody who's seen Game of Thrones, that was brought up last week. We know what they did to King Robert, so that's what it's trying to do to you guys as you piss it off.
Boars are no joke.
They are definitely no joke, especially really big, hungry, and angry ones.
Mm-hmm. Now, my question was it already pissed off, or did the party piss it off?
Well, it was gruff and kind of nasty, but not hostile until it got shot, at which point it became hostile.
Oh, okay, yeah. Usually shooting something makes
that,
things hostile. Last time I checked, so
does tend to provoke that reaction in both people and things.
I mean, hey, if I was a boar and I was minding my own business, eating some food that some stupid human left behind, and I got shot, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah. So we found out how deadly combat is because the very first hit the boar got to throw was a very near disemboweling of Naomi, your partner in Ronindom.
Oh man.
Yes, he got it good.
It was a very vicious blow. You know.
Speaking of the word partner, do we want to talk about bond?
Well, that's
or is that something we want to touch base on if it happens?
We're just kind of meandering here, so this is something we can do. Absolutely. We have about 5 minutes before the end of the stream, so this is as good a thing as any to wrap up on.
All right.
So bonds are a new mechanic to this edition. They never really did that in the other editions. They had some similar concepts, but not really. What the way character advancement works in this game is you spend experience points towards buying abilities and skills, and if you put them towards things that are on your curriculum list for your school, you advance in your school rank. And if you buy stuff that's not related to your school, you advance more slowly. Bonds open up like another curriculum for you to spend your experience points in, and you can develop your bond. So, and that will basically be at the expense of increasing your school rank, unless what would really be awesome is if one thing is on both curricula, and then you're like double dipping. So that would be pretty cool. But yeah, tell us about the bond you or rather Kage and Naomi have.
So I remember when we talked about it, our bond is literally we are partners. We have
Yes.
worked together before.
You guys are long-standing adventuring Ronin. Your connection to each other long predates everybody being brought together working for this magistrate.
So this will also help Kage integrate into the group, because when Kage is introduced, someone already knows him and can vouch for him very easily. Now, the biggest thing with the partner bond is they can literally pull a "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" and they can the players. So basically, this is you get permission to be meta. So I can talk to Chris and say, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" And we'll think about we'll communicate with each other, but our characters won't need to communicate in game. Then they could just give each other a look.
Yeah, you
It's
can
like
communicate a complex message just with a knowing wink and a nod. Like, yeah, remember that one time? Exactly.
It's so good. It's so good. And there's a part of it where you could also be like, remember that one time when it's like, I think we talked about an example. It was like, man, this wall is really high. Wait, remember that one time we found a ninja skeleton one time, and there was we found a nice grappling hook with it, and then my character will be like, and here it is, and we got it.
Develop,
It is.
Yeah. You got to develop your bond a few levels before you can do that ability. But yeah, that's something you can work towards.
We got to develop our bond before our meta powers can develop even more.
Yes.
I can't wait to say, remember that time we ceased the means of production?
Remember, Game Master has to approve.
Remember that time where Chris became the Game Master?
Yeah, actually, speaking of seizing the means of production, for those of you who remember the old AEG, the Colot, they're in FFG. I don't know what they're doing with them yet, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be the same thing. And they're basically, communists who are all about overthrowing the samurai class. So they are not very fondly looked upon.
Oh man, we got a communist scare in this game?
Kind of. It's worse than that. They want to overthrow the gods, not just the samurai. So,
that's like a big step up.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are at 59 minutes after, so I think we probably don't have time to come up with a new topic. I just want to thank everybody for watching. Remind everybody, next week we are going to do the actual play. We're just going to start right in with role play, and we'll leave any rules talk for these in between weeks. So we're going to rejoin everybody. We're going to see who wins, the samurai or the boar. Someone's going to be turned into bacon, hopefully the boar. And we will press on with this mystery of the Yasuki merchant in peril and move on with the whole campaign. Chris, any parting thoughts?
I think it's going to be really weird but funny if Naomi dies before I show up to join the group. And I could be like, hey, I know that body.
It'll be like what, the weekend at Bernie's or whatever, where they're carrying around their uncle or something.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
You'll pick up the dead samurai, like, hey, remember that one time?
Remember that one time where you didn't die by the boar?
All right. Pat, any parting thoughts?
Go with the fortunes.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to be rating after this or not. I guess we'll find out after the credits. But thanks once again, Rem Alternus. We got D&D tomorrow morning. We can watch Chris play Phelan. I'll be playing Jedediah. We're wrapping that up pretty soon here in the next couple of weeks. So please tune in.